Yeah, Manchester United. Huh. What can I say? Red Devils, what can I say? Look, it was a disappointing draw for Manchester United against FC Twente at Old Trafford. In what I would say, it was a very concerning performance from the Red Devils. Because the Red Devils came into this game off the back of a 0-0 draw against Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park, and they were actually hoping to kick off their Europa League campaign with victory, right, over the Dutch side FC Twente. Christian Eriksen had given United the lead, in the first half before Sam Lammers equalized for the Dutch side, and it was actually a frustrating night in Manchester. And oh man, Manchester United, Jesus Christ, I wonder what's actually happening. Is it because of a poor dressing room? Are the players not sharp enough? Is their confidence low? Like, what is it? Or is it Ten Hag who's the problem? Or who? Or is there no leadership? Who? What's the problem? What is the problem? What causes the problem? How did they get here? Because, no, man. No, this can't be going on for too long. I'm not a Manchester United fan. I'm a football fan. But this is a matter of concern because Manchester United is one of the greatest clubs in the world. One of the biggest clubs in the world. Currently, at this particular moment in time, they don't deserve to be ranked amongst the best. But they're still a big club. They still have a great legacy. And first of all, back to the game, this Europa League encounter at Old Trafford for Manchester United. You look at it from what it is, right? First of all, I want us to talk about Marcus Rashford. Yes, he seemed to be full of confidence. Following a poor start to the Premier League season, Marcus Rashford actually looked to be a man, bereft of confidence under Erik ten Hag. Despite the Dutchman consistently starting the Englishman, right? And again, after United's 3-0 victory over Southampton at the St. Mary's Stadium, Rashford actually seemed to discover some much-needed confidence. And he has not looked back since then. And against FC Twente, Rashford actually looked to be brimming with confidence. As the Englishman, was actually so creative. He was very creative. I was actually very impressed by his performance. He was so creative. He was so full of skill. And he actually caused countless problems for the Dutch side. And then, again, second of all, what I also took note of is that Joshua Zirkzee, he has actually continued to actually prove his worth, in the build-up. Joshua Zirkzee has only just scored one goal since his 34 million euros move to Old Trafford from Bologna. However, I must actually admit that the Dutchman has actually been so impressive, right? As well as, one thing you got to look at against FC Twente, Zirkzee's ability, on the ball, seems to actually be bringing out the best of Rashford. And the forward has actually continued to prove himself. As well as, his ability with his back towards goal could actually prove to be a useful weapon as a replacement for Anthony Martial. Okay? And again, the former Ajax midfielder, Christian Eriksen, his renaissance despite his, shortfalls, for the equalizer. And let us look at Christian Eriksen. Prior to the start of this particular season, predicting that Eriksen would actually play a key role for Manchester United early on would be somewhat of an outlandish statement, or somewhat out of something that we say we might be over-exaggerating, right? However, since his return to club football after the September international break, the Danish midfielder has actually cemented himself as a key cog in that Manchester United midfield, okay? And we also got to look at, the fact that now that he's playing alongside Kobbie Mainoo, right? And the fact that Kobbie Mainoo started the game on the bench. Eriksen, took his chance. And the English teenager could only be, paired with the Dane for United's game against Tottenham Hotspur on Sunday. And Eriksen's, thumping goal in the first half got United off to a great start. But the Dane gave the ball away cheaply for their 20 equalizer in the second half. And I think that is also another thing that he has to really work on, get his fitness right and be aware of his surroundings, and I've been noticing ever since he has joined Manchester United, he has been making those kind of careless mistakes of just giving away possession so unnecessarily, right? And as for Manchester United, their European issues continue. United's UEFA Champions League campaign last season was very atrocious. And part of the reason for that was their defensive struggles. The gaps in the midfield were back again at Old Trafford. And the Dutch side really came into their own and were actually creating chances, particularly after the equalizer. They were actually putting up a very dominant display over the Red Devils at Old Trafford. And United seemed to actually struggle to deal with the Dutch side. And they were perhaps fortunate not to fall behind. They were very fortunate enough not to actually fall behind following the equalizer. Because even the Manchester United substitutes, they struggled to actually make an impact. Similar to the 0-0 draw against Palace, the Manchester United substitutes did not make the desired impact against FC Twente. As they labored, Alejandro Garnacho looked dangerous, but Rasmus Højlund as well as Mason Mount did not, look match fit against the Dutch side. And this will, certainly be a concern for Ten Hag as they move forward into the game against Tottenham Hotspur this coming Sunday. So I would also be very concerned if I was actually a Manchester United coach at this particular moment in time, And with that being said, but we can't be too harsh on those guys because Rasmus Højlund as well as Mason Mount only just returned recently from injury. So we shouldn't really be harsh towards them as yet. But however, you would actually expect players of their caliber to actually make a desired impact for a struggling team like Manchester United if they are called upon, But however, let's hope that going into the game against Tottenham on Sunday, that big clash, let's hope that this particular performance won't actually be demoralizing for them, going into that particular fixture.